Welcome back. We're talking about what to do about the state's chronic budget deficits. The nonpartisan legislative analyst projects annual $20 billion deficits for the foreseeable future. While politically unpalatable, many nonpartisan observers maintain that revenues of some type, tax increases, perhaps direct user fees, must be part of any rational solution to fill the staggering budget gaps. Paul, even if some tax is necessary, didn't the voters in November show they were in no mood for new taxes? I mean, they rejected a fee increase to fund parks, made it harder for the legislature to raise taxes. I mean, is that really likely to pass?
If it's sold right, it can pass. If it's communicated properly to the public about the benefit and what they will get out of it and how it will restore California to a strong economic position, they would be able to pass this. You know, there's plenty of money out there. California's gross domestic product is $1.5 trillion. The budget is what, $90 billion? That's 4% of California's GDP. There's money out there. We can close that budget gap.
There's also been examples in the not too distant past about communities that have passed but tax increases on a 2/3 vote. Measure C in Fresno. There was something in Tulare County.
Measure R in Tulare County for roads, and also Measure T, not for taxes. Measure T in the city of Visalia for public safety. So yeah, it can be done.
Judy, Governor Brown campaigned on a pledge of no new taxes, quote, without a vote of the people. There's some speculation that he's going to spare K-12 from further drastic cuts if voters extend higher income taxes in a special election, probably in June. What do you think? Do you think the voters will go for that?
Well, right now he needs to get the Republicans to go for it so he can even get it on the ballot. But,
can you explain that? Can you explain that for a second? Why does he need Republican votes in the legislature to get this on the ballot?
As I understand it, it needs a 2/3 vote.
And so they're going to need...
Because it's a tax increase.
Right, so they're going to need 2 Republicans in the Assembly and then 2 in the Senate in order to get this on the ballot. Right. And right now, it doesn't sound like they have that support.
The knee-jerk reaction from the Republicans is unacceptable. And they, of course, they interpret a tax extension to be a new tax. Now, will calmer heads prevail? Hopefully they will. Because, as my colleague Jim Boren has pointed out, putting it in front of the voters just gives the voters a chance to speak their mind on the subject.
Okay.
They will have a couple of powerful interest groups campaigning for this. One would be teachers, because K-12 education hasn't been touched, and the other will be public safety, because the vehicle license fee will be going for local governments to pay for their firefighters and police officers.
Well, that tees up the question I want to ask Jim, and that is, several times taxes came up in a recent news conference by the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torkelson, who declared a, quote, state of financial emergency, unquote, in California schools. So are they prepping the argument for the June election?
Well, and the schools actually are faring pretty well. If this tax increase doesn't go on the ballot and doesn't pass, education will take a further hit in Brown's budget. So the education lobby has a reason to get this on the ballot and get it passed. But I think we all have a big stake in this, and we need to make a decision. Do we want to have a California that serves some of invests in education and serves the poorest among us for a few extra cents, or do we want to just let many of these programs collapse? And the safety net is important, especially in the San Joaquin Valley.
Grover Norquist out of Virginia, he's the president of the Americans for Tax Reform, has informed GOP's legislators that a vote to even place the question of a tax on the ballot would be deadly for their political careers. In short, there's no wiggle room on the no new taxes pledge that a lot of these legislators, Republican legislators, signed. So where does that leave us, Dianne? I mean, if he can't get it on the ballot, then are cuts going to be automatic?
Well, it leaves us hoping that legislators in Sacramento find some political courage. I mean, or are they going to let some fellow in from Virginia dictate and what they do? The other thing is, I understand that Republicans have asked the legislative council for an analysis to see if there is some amendment to an existing initiative that can serve that purpose of getting these extensions on the ballot and not leaving their fingerprints at all, that it would not require 2/3. I don't know how I don't know the details of that and how practical that is, but I think they're looking for an out. They don't want their fingerprints on it, and they want to be able to hold on to the pledge.
We have very little time left in this segment, but I ask a big question and very short answer, and that is repeal or revision of Prop 13, the 800-pound gorilla.
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
It's the third rail of politics. It's a fourth, fifth, and sixth rail of politics. It's not going to happen.
I don't think anybody wants to get bogged down with it. They've got the budget. They've got to deal with that.
Some discussion of it should occur, but I have to agree with Jim.
We need to wait 10 or 15 years till those senior citizen voters are no longer quite such a powerful force.
Okay, well, up next we'll talk about California and the Valley's economic outlook. What role, if any, does the state and local government play in getting us back on track? That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report.